Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of Empowering Musicians podcast. I am your host and founder, Michael Manley, and I'm very happy to be welcoming Emilie Grelewiecz to the program today. And Emilie is a communication coach and really specializes in connecting artists to their passion, to and forming businesses where they can actually make money doing what they love, and sort of translating their art head and figuring out how to communicate to the business world, which is something that I think is a struggle for some of us, because if you've ever talked to people at receptions after a concert or at an art gallery opening, and they're from the business world, it's like talking to people from Mars in some ways for us as artists. So, welcome, Emilie, and I'm so happy to have you on our show.
Yeah, hi. I'm glad to be here as well.
Great, and I should say that Emilie is taking time out of her Saturday night in Paris, where she lives. So, thank you for doing this. And why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do as a communication coach and how you got into that work?
Yeah, so I studied arts. I studied fine arts in high school, and I really found a passion in painting. It's drawing and painting is something that I really love. I really love decoration as well and home design. And then I did, after high school, I did a full year, very intense in an art school. And I've learned so much about art and about photography as well, and about, balancing pictures and colors, and what makes an amazing photography or painting. It's kind of the same as what makes an amazing graphics online, in communication. So and then I found that I wasn't ready to mix arts, my passion for arts, and with a job, profession, and a market, and all of that. So I kept my passion, and I decided to go into a communication school where I did 5 years in a master's degree. And then all my communication activities, I started to practice it in the cultural world in France. So because it's very developed, I think it's not like, I've spent a lot of time in the UK, and I know in France we have a very very big industry about arts and culture. It's with lots of people, lots of jobs. And so I've worked for festivals. I was a communication manager and an events organizer in festivals. And
Mm.
one of the festivals was about travel diaries. So
Okay.
yeah, it was amazing because it was a mix of traveling, paintings, writing, photography, and anthropology as well, all reunited in a festival. So I spent a lot of time in this world, and then I started, after many years of experience, I've started to run my own events on live shows in a big festival of street art, and inside a huge festival like the Fringe Festival in Edinburgh. It's kind of something like that we have in France, that is quite big. And inside of this huge event, I was running an event to highlight all the artists of my local area.
Okay.
So yeah, so this is my word, and has always been mixed with communication.
Hmm.
And it's amazing that now I'm helping. yeah, after that I got trained in business and how to, yeah, how to develop a business, how to, build offers, how to sell them, and then, I wanted to dive into the technical aspect as well. And so this is why now I'm able to help artists and creative people make a living and build a business from their passion, because I help them a lot with their communication, you know what to put online, but how to use the tools as well, because you can spend 8 hours online per day doing tons of things, but then if you don't have a strategy, and if you don't know the algorithm, how it works, and if you don't have the right, knowledge of what's behind it and what makes people successful, and some other just doing a lot but not really reaching their goals, you need
Mhm.
to know all of that to yeah, to make something interesting of your art and passion. And yeah,
Yeah, I
so
think yeah, I think that's really important, and I think as somebody who studied music, um, I my model, which I think is common, was I just need to be the best, or I need to be as close to the best, get my skills up, and then I'll be discovered, and somebody will just give me a job, right?
mm,
Or I'll win an audition or something. But
mm,
because we just want to focus on the art. But you're saying that's not enough, right? You can't just focus on making your art form, whatever it might be. You also have to figure out how you're going to get noticed or how you're going to sell. Um, and
yeah.
that's something that I don't think is very intuitive for artists. We don't want to think about that sometimes.
Yeah, and what I help people with is to gain clarity, because when you're creating something, and it's the same for me, I mean, I know how it feels to create some things, and sometimes it comes from such a deep place inside of you, that you don't have the distance afterwards to really realize what others see when they see maybe your art or your content. I mean, you need someone who understands what the creative process is and what an artist is going through when he's on this process, and help you make it more understandable for others. Because at some point, yeah, you need that part where it's only you, and you there's no compromise because it's your creation, and there is a part that you need to protect, and it's very important. But then there's another phase where you need to open up a little bit and have someone have a look at what you do and say, oh, from an external point of view, here is what I see. Is it what you want me to see? Or can we make some little adjustments so maybe I understand better what you mean, or what you want to send into the world. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So, I grew up in a world that didn't have, we didn't have computers, we didn't have cell phones. And, I think people of my generation, but maybe not just my generation, are very kind of intimidated in some ways about how to use social media, especially. And I mean, I do this podcast, but I haven't really promoted it and broadened the reach of it as the way I should, because part of it I just don't know how, or that I'm just shy about doing it. But even something like the way that a lot of people get their information, like for me, I'm dating somebody who's a little bit younger than myself, and when I want to find out some information about a city, I'll go to Yelp and I'll read, whereas he will go to TikTok and watch videos. Um, and like it could be something like trying to find a brunch restaurant, and it's just like, but so it's just the way people are getting information now is it's always like transforming and advancing. And so I know that for myself, I'm really like intimidated about the idea of making a TikTok video or an Instagram story or all of this. And so do you help artists sort of get over their fears, and how do you do that?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And the artist, the dance artist I work with right now, she's 64.
Oh wow.
And
Okay.
yeah, and I mean, she's amazing. I mean, in how much she has developed already, and she's been online. She's done a lot, but at some point it's very intense, it's tiring, and it's very stressful for her. But she's a fighter, so she's yeah, I'm impressed. I mean, she's good at so many things, but at some point she realizes that she needs some help, because if she spends all of her time doing communication, is very stressful for her, and then she doesn't have time anymore to dance and to practice all the the body work that she's teaching, and it's not good. So for example, she first we talked about Instagram, and she sees that it's very dynamic on Instagram, so she knows that it's very interesting. But then when I started to talk to her about what she could do to activate her Instagram, we've had, there was an explosion, I mean, of emotions. I mean, she had so much stress and so much maybe fears, and she shared with me, because she's from a generation where the online world is a bit weird as well. So she shared with me, yeah, but when I watch people go live, sometimes I judge them, and I don't understand what they mean. Or, I mean, she has funny reactions when she sees people going online, like, why are they talking, what are they doing here, why why do I see their face on my phone? And so yeah, it was a very funny conversation. And then I explained to her, like, for example, giving her some examples of what I experienced as a person who watched some influencers. So yeah, I shared with her, I follow 2 or 3 influencers mainly, and I told her my story with those people. I've never seen them, I don't know them, but they have a very positive impact on my life. And I shared that to her, how much those people make me grow thanks to their shift my mindset, or they make me feel understood and seen, and as part as a community. So we had this conversation, and then we just finished, and the day after, I opened my mailbox, and I saw she sent me a video. And yeah, she had done a video, and no, maybe 2 or 3 days later, yeah, she sent me a video. And I mean, I was amazed. I was so surprised, because I really thought she wouldn't do it. I mean, not now. I thought, okay, we're gonna work on this, but maybe for a month or two, and then something will come. But then no, she afterwards she told me, yeah, I was in resistance. I resisted that, but behind, she wanted to do it. So it's interesting, because she's hired me, so she wants to do it. She wants to improve her communication, and so yeah, if the message is, if you want to do it, by talking and sharing, and maybe starting small, and you're gonna make progress, but little by little, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. And I so far have ventured into the video live um, content world just through this podcast, but I do have interests in doing some teaching with my instrument and doing more videos like that. But it is a little bit intimidating. I'm still resisting the idea. And I have an Instagram account. I never really look at it. I just need to get over my own issues and my own I guess fears in some way.
Yeah, but what I want to share about artists, something that is very typical, and I started to talk to my client about this. I told her, be super careful of the perfectionism, perfection. You're gonna. This is something. I mean, most artists, they have this trait. It's quite strong in our personality, because we are idealist people. We are. I mean, yeah, most of them, not all of them, but most of artists are idealists. So we want to reach that, and we put so many barriers, for so many weights on things that it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be that way, because um, the way you reach some kind of perfection is by starting and being just bad at it on the first day. But you started. The second day, you're a little bit less bad.
Yeah.
On the third day, and then after a few months or a few years, you're gonna become that person who does things naturally, like even like going live. It's such a big fear. It's such a big fear on social media, going live. But my advice is, why don't you start small? Why don't you first post a picture of yourself that you like? Why don't you then maybe do a little reel? A
Mhm.
reel is like 10 or 20 seconds, something like that. Why don't you, yeah, do that? And then about going live, why don't you start going live with friends, with people you feel good with? So you're gonna feel connected to their energy, and so it's not like going live on your own. So
Mm.
yeah, sometimes when you're blocked, it's because maybe you don't realize, you don't know all the nuances that there are, and it's like it's a path. So maybe you're trying to do the 25th step, and you haven't done the second yet. So you're blocked because you're trying to do something that is too hard, and it's not where you should start. So most of the time when you're completely freaking out is because of that. So you really need to be gentle with yourself, especially on social media. So yeah, I go super slowly. I mean, even for me, because I have a shy, quite introvert personality. But as well, when your passion and your motivation, at some point it has to be strong, because at some point your motivation is going to be stronger than your shyness trait. So
Yeah.
all the meaning, the motivation, and the people you're doing business with or your projects with, at some point, it's like so many elements that needs to be supportive and positive, and little by little you're gonna find your way. But it's important to have to be in touch with someone who is more experienced than you, so they can show you the small steps that most of the time you don't see. You
Yeah.
don't realize where you are in the big picture, because maybe you don't have the big picture and you don't know in which phase you are, so you don't see the next one.
Yeah. That's kind
Mm.
of where I am, but I don't really. I need to start researching more and watching more social media that's more visual, because most of what the way I communicate has always been, except for this podcast, like most of my communication has been writing, and
Mm.
I'm a very good writer, but I take my time writing, and you can actually have the luxury of doing that and editing, whereas video is different, right? It's like live, and it's more spontaneous, and
Mm.
I think you touched on something that is really important to acknowledge, which is this idea of perfectionism, right? And so, um, we are trained that, like, we practice as musicians, or as your friend the dancer probably as well, to practice and practice for hours so that we can show something that is very finished and polished to an
Yeah.
audience. And we never let them see our mistakes. We never let them see the process. And so we're trained not to want to be vulnerable. And being online is very vulnerable. Like
Yeah, and what you do online is the exact opposite of what you've been trained in arts. Because how do you build a community? You build a community with real people who see you as a real person, and this is how they get attached to you and how they recognize you. Because I don't know, maybe one day you start playing and you do it wrong because you didn't sleep last night because of something happened, and you can play and then you can do it wrong and then share that with people, and then what are they gonna think? That you're human, and maybe the same thing happened to them. And so this is how the connection is made with your community. So what you share online is the path towards your success. It's a journey. It's not a result. And as an artist, as you said, you're trained to only show the result and hide everything. But just forget about it. In a way, social media are much more open-minded, and what people want to know is on social media. They are more interested they are interested by your expertise, but they are very people are very interested in knowing you, in what makes you special. um and yeah, so it's a whole mindset and new habits that you need to build to start your community.
Yeah, that's so true. And you're totally right that it's all about the process and not the result, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
I I watch a lot of, for some reason, the way the algorithms work, I get a lot of cooking videos if I'm scrolling through, and I'm on Facebook Reels or something. And I can't eat the food, but I'm enjoying watching people make it, right? And you're learning from that. And you're right, we're not taught to share that. And it's funny, I remember when the show American Idol started in our country, and we've had other shows like it, and The Voice and all these things. And I thought to myself, that you would never be able to do that with an orchestra. I wish they would, but, like, you could never do a show about classical music, because nobody would want to show the part where they made a mistake in rehearsal. Like,
Mm,
nobody wants to show the process, because
mm,
they're terrified, right? Like, they're terrified that, we have a phrase, I guess, that, like, you're only as good as your last performance. So I think that's kind of like a myth more, but still, like, we have this feeling that we're always auditioning, that
mm,
if somebody sees me make a video and make a mistake on something, they might not hire me or something. Like there's all this story we create in our
Oh,
heads
yeah.
about,
That's too hard. That's
yeah,
very harsh. And yeah, the art world is quite difficult. I mean, I'm like when you see in art school, like for dancers, when they are very young, and the teachers they are so hard on little girls,
yeah,
and then they really live all their life long with this aim for perfection all the time, and it takes them a whole life of therapy to get rid of this and realize that they can just be so beautiful when they are themselves. And what I want to say is that people want to see your progression. So how can you share that if you only share? I mean, just imagine on social media a perfect result. Just it would be just one post and one video,
yeah,
and so it's not creative. It's not creative at all. What I want to see is your whole process, and what you maybe if you're doing some research, either in music or even on painting, how amazing it is when the painter is telling you the story of what he started to work on, which colors, and then he moved into something else, and then into something else, and then after 50 trials, he makes a combination of all those things, and then finally you see that amazing final picture. But if you go online and on social media, this is why you must be willing to share. And for music it's the same. I mean, like for example, if you play a little bit, you can you can share with people maybe what's hard about this music piece,
hmm,
and you can try it, and maybe you try it several times, and you can do it like on your own with no camera. But then when you've made three mistakes on one piece of music, then you do it again with the camera, and you share the first mistake, or why you did that, or why you did to solve it, the second one what you did to, and the third one, and then how you got better at it. And this is how you create amazing content, because then I'm gonna try to play it the same as you, and if I watch your video it's gonna make it easier for me, and I'll feel connected to you because I'm gonna try, and I'll probably make the same mistakes as you. So, and then this is how and a person from online in your they are started to talk to you in messenger or in the comments, and they will ask you for some advice. And yeah, so the the social medias are all about sharing about who we are,
hmm,
and how we are going towards our goals. But yeah, it's not about the last picture, the last one where everything is right and perfect. I mean, you will share this one, but you realize that happiness is gonna be felt all along the way with your people.
yeah.
So mm,
It's very hard to tell your story and to be authentic if you're
mm.
perfect all the time, right? If you're just
Yeah,
showing,
exactly. And who is? I mean,
yeah,
who is perfect all the time? No, no, no one. I mean, it's okay to the the interesting thing is to, if you can share about your mistakes as long as you're proactive on them. I mean,
right.
oh, I've made those mistakes, and then how did I get out of them? it's not about going online and sharing to the world about everything that goes wrong. It would be too much. But
Right.
it's a mix. It's a mix of successes and failures, and then it's all about finding your voice. How do you want to talk about this, and what do you want to share, and as well, what does it bring to others? To keep this in mind, because it's not all about you. At some point, it's like having a little reflection and some thinking behind. Like that's what I do with people. We're gonna think of what can we which strategy can we have, which I mean, or maybe a nicer word, not a strategy, but what is my intention
Hmm.
when I go online? What is my intention? What do I want people to feel or to gain from seeing my post or listening to my videos? And when you've worked on all of that at a deep level, suddenly you're not scared anymore of social medias. I mean, what's scary about going on social medias is when you don't know what you want to say, or you don't know what people are going to see, or what you want them to see and not to see. But if you clarify that 100% before, and it's super clear, you put your boundaries maybe before what you will share and what you won't share, and what's your intention.
Hmm.
And then if you're creative, you're gonna just enjoy a lot. Creating content on Instagram and TikTok. I mean, for creative minds is limitless.
Yeah, absolutely. And you talk about clarity and like what is it that you want to say, and
Yeah.
the way that if if I go down this path of when I go down this path of sharing more videos, like how do I curate that Instagram or whatever the account is I'm using, so that I'm very clear on having all of my content be kind of aimed at that audience or at that mission or whatever my intention is. Is that
Yeah, and it's all about drawing the big picture.
hmm
This is where you can't do it all on your own, because you need someone who has more distance, so that person can ask you the right questions, and then you can, it can be like a vision board, like creating a vision board that to make you feel very clear about, like in 5 to 10 years you have a wonderful and successful Instagram or TikTok account. What's on it? What can we see? Which kind of are there text? Are there videos? I mean, because what is very important to me is to say that success is not the same thing for everyone. And
mm,
this is, it's you see some people are very successful in what they do, but if you would do the same, you wouldn't feel fulfilled and successful, because it's not what success is for you. So
mhm.
for me, success is what fulfills. And if you're a born writer or a born actor or actress, and or a singer, or in arts, success is, it has to be designed for you. It has to be 100% personalized. So my dream Instagram account, of course, it's not the same as yours. So what I do is that I help people express this part of what they what's amazing for them. And sometimes what's amazing for someone is like just a white picture with a little color and then a poem, and this is what's wonderful to create for them. And some other is going to be a lot with some music or with lots of videos, or it's limitless. The options are so wide that it's really interesting to do all this thinking, because I mean the social medias, it looks very spontaneous, but I want to say that it's not that spontaneous, and not 100% when it's very coherent and very aligned with you and who you are and what you want to build. There is a little bit of work behind, not just like two minutes, 2 seconds selfie and a few hashtags, and I mean it goes a bit further than that.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I've learned a lot in our talk today, and I'm taking notes here, but
Mm.
so we have to see our social media as kind of a vision board that is communicating
Mm.
our own story and being clear about who we're trying to reach and why.
Yeah,
Um, and then we want to start small and don't be afraid of being vulnerable and authentic, because that's what people are looking
yeah,
for.
yeah,
Um,
and yeah, what you said about the storytelling is very important to use it as a storytelling tool, and how do this work of what's your story and what you want to you write your own story as well through social media. So it's an amazing and very creative journey for artists.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
I know what helped me was developing my own kind of mission statement, like
Mhm.
a one sentence summary of what it is that I wanted to do. And that was took me a little while to do that, but that was really important in terms of the, uh, the empowering musicians part of what I'm interested in doing. And that has two real, well, sort of avenues. One is, really educating and empowering artists and performers.
Mhm.
Um, and then the other is more aligned with my own specific practice of French horn playing.
Mhm.
But they're both kind of about empowering musicians, whether it's through learning to
Yeah.
play the instrument or building a career.
Mhm.
And so having that mission statement is going to be really helpful, I think, once you develop that to have that clarity of what you want
Yes.
to say.
Yes,
Uh,
definitely, and it empowers you. Inside those the statement is it fuels you with energy. So it's amazing to have it. Mm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, how do
Mhm.
people find you, and how, if somebody wanted to engage you, are you working remotely? Like, do you work with clients all over or just in Paris or?
Yeah, no, I mainly work in English now. So I work with people from
Mm.
Canada and America as well. And I'm happy to work with people from the UK as well, because I love the UK. I've lived there and I feel very connected to the British culture. So but anywhere in the world, I mean, that's my passion as well, is to work with people from many different backgrounds and many different cultures. And most of the time, people I work with, they were born in a country and they live in another one, and maybe they work in another language. So most of the time it's a big mix. And maybe because I have a Polish background, but I live in France, but I work in English, and I travel regularly abroad as well. So I'm very multicultural, and I'm happy to keep this diversity in my company. And to find me with my name, Emilie Grelewiecz, you can find me on LinkedIn. And on Facebook, I'm Emi Create, Emi, and create, like to create something. So yeah, people can look for me. And on my website as well, you can visit my website. It's called positivesocialimpact.com. So it's quite
Positivesocialimpact.com.
Yeah, it's very easy to find, and I've named my what you shared before about the statement that empowers you. This is why I chose my company name and name my website Positive Social Impact, because that's exactly what defines what motivates me to go online and share my messages, because I want to work with anyone who is willing to create a positive social impact in the world. I mean, maybe, helping women, helping men, helping children. And I work with artists, but with lots of healers as well, and spiritual entrepreneurs. So they are, very creative people who go to into business to change the world and bring, some new ideas, new messages, new ways of living and creating our lives. So, yeah.
Yeah. I think you touched on something that I think is important to remember, which is that like when we do want to communicate, thinking about what we want to communicate, right? And I think for me and for you, it's like how are we serving the world, and what impact are we making on others
Yeah,
versus look at
yeah,
me, I'm doing this cool thing, right? It's really about
yeah,
how our communication serves other people and serves the world, and
yeah.
that's why I was, I was very aware in my career that musicians and artists were trained and they're honing skills, but they were getting into the workplace, but they weren't empowered. And I was really thinking, what does it mean
Mhm.
if you're an empowered artist? Well, it means
Yeah,
you understand the business side, you understand your own worth, you understand that you don't have to have the mindset of I'm lucky to do what I do, or that I can't make money at it because I'm an artist, right?
mm,
In our world, it's very common to think, well, of course I'm not going to make a lot of money because the arts don't make money, right? Like,
mm.
we can't cover the cost of the dance recital with the ticket sales. We always have to depend on donations. So therefore, I'm going to not ever make money. And that kind of like negative mindset is like you probably see a lot, but yeah, having that mission that is really outward looking, I think is really key.
Yeah, just before the show, we were sharing about this money mindset that artists have. And it's funny because look, I was working in the cultural world in France, and you live in America, and this mindset is exactly the same. It's like,
Wow.
oh, but I love what I'm doing, so it's my passion. It's a pleasure to do it. So why would I ask for money for that? Yeah, so the answer to that question is that you need money even if you like it, because you're bringing value to people, and you sometimes, like with a live show, you
Hmm.
bring emotions, you bring healing, you bring wellness to people. And so people in the society who bring healing, emotions, and websites and wellness, they get paid for that. If they have a therapist, or if they have, when you go and watch a movie at the cinema, I mean, you pay your ticket. So why would you have to give that to people for nothing? And then as well, the money is gonna it's not the money is never gonna be the reason why you're doing what you're doing, you
Hmm.
know. If it is, I mean, there's something is wrong. But it's not why you're doing it, but it's a tool and at some point it's gonna be what makes you able to continue and to keep doing what you're doing, because you can do things for passion for free, but how long is it gonna last? 3 months, 6 months, a few years maximum, and then you're human. I mean, if you get nothing back, and money is, as we always say, money is an energy. It's like,
Mhm.
for example, if I do a live show, I make you laugh for an hour. I mean, I give you an energy. I make you laugh, and then you're happy. You have this energy, and you go home. You're happier than before, and it's perfectly normal that you give me some money in exchange. So with the money, I mean, I go home and I'm energized as well because I've earned. So it's only, this is how we explain that it's an exchange of energy. And
Mm.
it's really okay to earn money with your passion. And you need it. It's how the world is made. And so yeah, better not fight this, but just feel comfortable, and maybe heal that part, because artists, they all have been in dramas and in big problems because of money in the art world, because the art world seems to be quite poor, and with where money is always a problem.
Mm.
But the good news is, if you become an entrepreneur artist, both things, um, you're gonna finally find a new relationship with money, which is gonna be so much nicer, so much easier. And you realize that in entrepreneurship, all the coach, they're all gonna tell you that you deserve to have money for your talents, and not like in the art world, when they tell you you have to sweat and fight for 10 years before you get a little bit paid for what you do. you know
Yeah.
it's like this history of what artists, you know like what artists used to be like, being poor, and almost have nothing.
Yeah.
And this is what made them create a masterpiece or something like that. But it's okay, those stories, they existed, but they are history.
Right.
It in the past. And right now is the contrary. I think, artists who succeed and really develop amazing projects, they are the people who have
Yeah.
money,
Yeah.
because they can, live decently. They can pay people for, some help, and they can take their time to do some quality work, and everything that goes with art. I mean, what can you do without money?
Yeah. Well,
Very
and
little.
yeah, very little. And I I recently, well, this week and last night and tonight, got to play with the Las Vegas Philharmonic, which is my local orchestra here in Las Vegas. And we did a concert last night of John Williams music. We're repeating it tonight. It's my greatest joy. It's the reason, Star Wars and all these film scores are why I went into music. And so it's been very satisfying. And I will get paid, which is also nice.
Yeah.
But I can't do that full time, but I can also teach. I can also write a method book, and there's other ways to kind of monetize my art.
Yeah.
And that's something that we often don't think of. We just think, well, if I'm a ballet dancer and I don't get into the New York City Ballet, then I can't dance anymore. I've got to go do something else.
Yeah.
Whereas, we can own the fact that we're artists and say, I'm an artist and I'm gonna, I'm gonna monetize my art in some way, but it may not be the way that is expected.
Yeah. And what I like, is, there's something that I really like in what you just said, is that you you aim for diversity of activities. It's like, and this is so important for artists and creative people. You don't go for just one thing, just like you said, oh, I want to go be a ballet dancer in that city with that company and dance on that stage, and this is success, just
Yeah.
don't do that to yourself, because it may not happen. It's not simple to get what we want. So how we must do it is we need to open our heart and set intention, but those intentions, they must be quite large, precise, but quite open. Like for you, it's all about music. Yeah, so music can be a community to empower musicians. It can be writing a method. It can be playing at some gigs and getting paid for it. And it can be playing for wedding and getting a little paid for it as well. And I mean, there are most of the time, like when we are stuck as well or very anxious, is because we have set something that is too narrow. It's too
Yeah.
narrow, and most of the time it doesn't work. When you when you do it like this, then people are gonna say no, it's not gonna work. Like about building a community online, it takes time, so
Yeah.
you need some other things on the side while you're working on longer term goals. You need some short term activities as well that you can just activate in your community where you live. Maybe some people need some teaching,
Yeah.
you know, and some stuff like that. So I like to this is how I move on. And most sometimes I don't know how I could do things differently. If I had just one thing and was so narrow in one way, I think I would have given up my lifestyle for a long
Yeah.
time, because it can't work like this. You need to be super ready to adapt. You need to adapt, and you need to be flexible, and just define the directions, like maybe two or three, like a creative direction, a lifestyle direction, and some, just you define a few things, and then you're gonna work on those things. And I think it's pretty amazing, because when things get get blocked in one way, when you have several, there's always something opening on the side. So it's always like, oh, that door just shut. My God. And then, the week after, you're like, yeah, but this one is opening now. So, and yeah, so
Yeah.
very flexible mindset, but you need it.
Absolutely. And I think, having knowing the difference between an intention and a goal, right?
Hmm.
So, um, like you said, like there's people that are going to Juilliard now that maybe want to dance with the New York City Ballet or play with the New York Philharmonic, and that's their dream. Um, but that can't be your intention because you can't control the outcome. You can't
Yeah.
control it.
Mm.
But you could have an intention to serve the world through music, right? And then if you get that New York Phil job or you get that New York City Ballet job, great. But your intention isn't dependent on that. And I think that's the important thing.
Yeah, and everything is just gonna be a trial and an experience. For example, that dream job for a ballet that you want, maybe you're gonna get it, and it's gonna be an experience, and this is gonna maybe feed your own experience, and it's something that you will be able to share in your community. So it's important. I mean, it's like, if you say that you want to build a community for musicians, if you don't experience many different things around your community, what can you bring and share inside your community? So this is how you need to think as well. You need to you have services to offer to feed others, but how do you feed yourself? So even those the craziest dreams that you have, you need to keep chasing them. But it's just that you find a balance, because you don't have just this,
Yeah.
because yeah, maybe that dream is gonna take 3 years to open. So in the meantime, you on a daily life, you build some other things, and then at some point, when you really when you are in your center, in your heart, and in your passion, at some point you realize that every projects, they feed each other, and they build, that big picture in the end.
That's so true. I mean, I can just tell you that, like, I didn't expect to get a call. I was very overjoyed to get this call, because when I saw that this concert of John Williams' music was being done this year, I was like, oh my God, if I could play that concert, that would be so much fun.
Mm.
And it happened. And but one of the side results is I'm talking to people backstage, and I'm recently now doing more art stuff and more teaching, and I have more time in my schedule to do that, and I'm trying to really live my musician self fully. And so I was talking to some folks and got a lead on some new teaching gigs at some schools in town, because I do parapro work here as kind of a brass coach in the public school system, and that hopefully will lead to some private students. And I was talking to some of my friends who play in some other orchestras outside of Las Vegas about maybe getting on their sub lists. And all of that happens because, again, we're, as you say, everything is related, and the leads,
Yes.
we can make experiences lead to other experiences.
Yeah, and it's all about networking as well. So
Yeah.
if you are so stubborn in one thing, there's nothing around you. So how do you, what the picture that comes to me right now is like a little monkey, you're in
Yeah.
a little monkey in a forest, and you need to have some branches you can, jump on. And so this is why you need to build around you is a network, exactly, in a forest. And if you at some point you realize it's exactly why you need to grow. And even in your art, you need all of this life around you, because sometimes when you're alone in your house, if you want to play, maybe you're gonna play with a certain emotion today because you had an amazing class with students, or
Hmm.
maybe that student, they shared something about their life to you, and it made you feel some emotions. So then that day you're gonna write a poem, or maybe you're gonna play your instrument in a very special way. And the, yeah, the mistake an artist can make is something is sometimes you isolate yourself and have one goal, and it's not the way it works.
Yeah.
You
And
need life.
you miss all those other opportunities when you're just so laser
Yeah.
focused sometimes.
Yeah. And you need some, to feed your creativity and your inspiration. And sometimes what feeds you are things that have nothing to do with your goal.
Exactly. Well,
Yeah.
this has been a wonderful conversation, Emily. I'm so glad you joined us today, and I know it's getting late there, so I will let you get to your Saturday night. Uh,
Yeah.
Saturday night in Paris. That sounds like a great way to spend a weekend. So, but fine. Please remember to look for Emily at positivesocialimpact.com, and you're also Emmy Creates on Facebook and Emilie Grelewiecz on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So again, for sharing your time with us, Emily, I'm so glad you were here, and I'll look forward to hopefully bringing you back another time. I feel like we could talk for another hour.
Yes, definitely. Thank you very much for welcoming me tonight. It's been such a great moment. Thank you very much, and see you soon.
You're very welcome. See you soon, and take care, and we'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.